you, buddy. You look great. It's a nice jacket.
It's hot. That's it. I'm out. All right. Sorry, guys. What's going on, DC? They love me. How many people are out? Does that go all the way back? Wow. More than the karaoke last night. So, is everyone having a good time? Nice. I feel like I'm talking like God. Can I come in? Why am I being held at the gate? This is my second creation event, and yeah. And it's been I mean, you guys are so overwhelmingly kind and sweet. It's, 8 months ago before I got on the show, it was not like this. It was, what do you do for a living? Well, I used to bartend, and waiter, and used to be a house cleaner. I had a house cleaning service. Served in the military. You're welcome, and thank you. A lot of you I've met have served as well. There's a lot of people here who served, so thank you. A big round of applause. My sister's here with me. She's a school teacher of 20 years. She teaches 7th grade. Yeah, to the teachers. And it's been a really special time for us. We were here back in 1982. Most of you weren't born. And there's a little picture of me with her on the internet right now, and I'm, 6 or 7 years old, and she's 4 years older than me, so she's 11, and we're standing in front of the White House, and I had like just completely blonde hair, and I'm like, and she's like, she's got these horrible ruffle feathers. I think she's on her way here. I think she slept in. My sister's here! Oh, she says no, see? No, she's like, that's it. And she looks, yeah, but I can't reenact it without you. Like, so it's been a really special time. We've spent the last 2 days here in Washington, D.C. We've walked over 25 miles. Unbelievable. My feet are, yeah, right? I'm nervous, I'm sorry. But we got a private tour of the Pentagon, and we've gone and seen the memorials, and Martin Luther King's memorial, and all these memorials that weren't here back in 1982, and last night, the reason why I was dressed up was not for karaoke. Why did you come in a suit for karaoke? Cool. We went to the White House last night, and we actually got to go to the West Wing. We got to sit and be around that whole atmosphere and go into the Oval Office, which was unbelievable. Like I'm still like shook up, and I'm still inspired, and to have my sister there who teaches children, and to be in the heart of our country, and to be there in the Oval Office, I had like tears. I wish they were filming. I wish I was doing a scene in acting, because I was really emotional. I was like, where's Bob Singer? Where's Jensen? Where's Jerry? Guys, like, God, I'm ready to shoot, guys. But there was no cameras allowed. Can't show it. But yeah, so I'm here with my sister. A very special time for us. This is our first time ever taking a brother and sister trip. My joke on Facebook with her was a couple divorces, a couple children, not me, her. I'm too much like a kid to have one. We just caused too much trouble together. What else? A couple stepkids and 3 chihuahuas later, we get to go on a trip together. It's very special. So, I want to thank Creation, honestly, for letting us be here, for you guys for having us here, because without you, we don't get invited. Like, if no one was here, if there was like 3 of you, there would be no one up here. So, for you guys having us means a lot, and for Creation. inspiration having those and giving these opportunities to share these memories with you. It's amazing, so thank you very much. What's going on?
So, I was wondering, in the things they carried, how hot actually was the sweat lodge you and Jensen were in?
They're gonna be dangerous questions. Should have worn a bulletproof vest. It was hot. I mean, he's a good-looking dude. How many here don't think Jensen's good-looking? Crickets. Just act like. I mean, it was hot. I mean, he got to kick back, relax, and drink water, and like watch me. And I didn't realize till I watched it back later, because when you're filming it, you're just in it. But I realized how like unbelievable. Like I'd sit down, like, will you dive into this chair? Like the lines I was saying, I would say them and I'd be into them, and then halfway through I'd be like, what? There's like a line I say where I'm like, I guess it makes me a monster, don't it? And then Jensen goes, you're a monster, don't it? I mean, I studied Shakespeare, like, you know what I mean? Like, I studied 4 years of acting, and like, and now I'm saying lines like monster donut. Only supernatural. Like. But it was, I mean, it was hot. It was real sweat for me. I made myself really sick doing that scene. It took about a week to recover. I got really ill because it's a 14-hour day of pretending you've swallowed a worm, and coughing, throwing up, and then you know, hot flashes with me being on top of Jensen and Jensen being on top of me. And you guys, funny, like there was one point where Jensen was like, you know, he was on the table and they're like, okay, so Jensen laid down, and Jensen's like, all right, so I'll lay down right here. And they're like, Travis, could you know, then put your leg between his legs and then get over him, and you need to be closer and then open your mouth. Because we're gonna put a digital, like, you need to put all this goo in your mouth because we're gonna do a digital worm coming out of your mouth. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, and then they're like, so open it and get it as wide as you can and get it as close to Jensen's face as you can. And you get closer, and I'm like, and Jensen's like, she's like, I'm gonna turn my head like this, and then like, I'll immediately do this. We were hot. I mean, it was like, and in my head, you know what I thought in my head? Because at this time, this was my 4th episode. I was like, do you know how many women wish they were in my position? Oh, I know why you guys don't like me sometimes. Like, there's a handful of you out there that do not like me at all, and I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm sorry. I got to straddle Mr. Ackles. Damn that cold. Damn it. But yeah, so it was hot. I go left, right? Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. We're just gonna growl at each other. What's going on?
I know when a lot of characters or actors first join the show, they get pranked. And I was wondering if when you first joined the show, Jared or Jensen like gave you a really hard time or anything like that.
Well, you know, no, they did not. And I don't know if, at first I thought, well, everyone's like, did they prank you? And I'm like, no. And they're like, oh, they must not like you. So like every time I'd come to set, I'd be like, nothing. But the last episode I did, we were in a really intense scene, and you know, I'm getting to know the boys on a professional level. I know them personally, but on a professional level, you try to figure out how each other's works. And at this point, I forgot about the pranks that they pulled over the years. I just dropped it. The first episode, I was paranoid. Like, that first episode I did, like, if you guys notice my acting, I'm like... And everyone's like, look at Cole's, like, deep in thought. I'm like, no, I'm Travis. I'm waiting for something to happen to him. But the last episode, I'm walking to the car, and it was an intense scene, and all of a sudden I feel his hand, not just a pinch on my rear, like a real deep grab. Like deep. So as I'm like walking, around. It's the first time I like really kind of got to, because you shoot out of order. So the first time I got to the Impala to Baby, which I know you guys all love that car. He was like, no, don't let Cole sit in that car. Don't touch it. I gotta get in it. So I walk around, all of a sudden I look at them and I'm all in the moment. I'm like, all right guys, let's go. And all of a sudden this hand reaches up. And I'm like, oh. And there's Jared, he's like. And they're filming it. And I look and there's a big old camera and I'm like, we're not using that. Like that's not how we're adapting my character. Is this really a TV show? Let's jump into some odd. So yeah, that I think Jared grabbing my took us.
Very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next question.
All right, hi.
Hi.
So with your character in season 10 so far, you've gotten the chance to play with two types of Dean, very different. Demon Dean and regular, not Demon Dean.
Right.
And it's two complete different sides of Jensen's acting.
Yeah.
What was a more interesting Dean to interact with? Was it more fun to interact with Demon Dean or regular Dean, like in the things they carried?
Demon Dean seemed like a guy I would hang out with. Me, not Cole. Like, I was like, right on. Like the first scene we go in Vancouver, we're shooting up there, and the first we go to location, and we go to the oldest strip club in Vancouver, and like literally like real strippers. It's a functioning strip club, and they're like, all right, we're shooting here today, and I'm like, all right. What's up? You know, we sit down, and Travis comes to set. I'm like, what? No, I mean, I'm not a big fan of strip clubs, but a little dirty. No offense, strippers. But yeah, it was like, his character was fun, right? And he, him and Crowley are going around drinking. It just reminded me of me and my Hollywood buddies. I'm like, I came back from shooting, I'm like, I did this show, Supernatural, with Jensen, and everyone knows Jensen, because we all kind of grew up together in the business, and we all kind of came in around the same time. And so we all have mutual friends. I'm like, I just was working with Jensen up, and I said, a lot of what he's doing as a demon on the show is what we do in Hollywood on like a regular basis. You guys are all horrible, I'm horrible, like we need to stop this. The only thing different is you don't have black eyes. And sometimes they do have black eyes, and then they need to go to like, get help. But it was, I liked what he did with that character. I liked what he gave as a twist on evil. Reminded me a lot of what it is like for young actors in Hollywood and what we do. Like, it's just, you go out and cause complete havoc, and that was like him basically having fun, but it also has a form of evilness to it. So it was I liked what he did with it, and then you come back and then he's a whole different type of person. I mean, it was very subtle what I thought he did, and I thought it was really good acting. I was really impressed with it a lot. I mean, I was like, wow, that was a really subtle transition. Like, you weren't a demon and like, rah, rah. You know, just very subtle in his cockiness and his attitude, and the way he was with me in our fight scene was awesome. And then our last fight scene, it was sentimental and emotional. The arc was really cool. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Who's next?
Hi, Travis.
Hi. Hi.
I have to say, I saw you yesterday at the bar, and you give the best hugs. Like, you're just like...
I've had a couple of people ask, like, why do you hug? And I'm like, since I've been on this show, I've felt this entire embrace from this fandom. My answer is, when somebody hugs you, you hug them back. Like, if I didn't hug you guys, I would feel awkward. It's like awkward. You see someone and like, hi, yeah, here, right? Let's just lock up and then tell me your name, because now we need to know our names.
I'm Julie.
I remember Julie. I remember hugging you. Yeah. And it helps also, like when you do some awkward handshake, you're like, okay, whose hand did I just shake? But when you do a big embrace and a hug, it helps you kind of remember. I mean, there's thousands out there in the audience, and our minds only hold so much information. So hugging you makes me remember you a little bit better.
My question is, how did you like the evolution between Dean and Cole throughout season 10?
I had such a fun time. I mean, it was nothing I ever expected. I finally waited a very long time to play a military character. I served 4 years, and I've gone out for every military project in Hollywood. I'm second on almost every role you can imagine. Watching different actors get a role. Jeremy Renner, was between me and him for Hurt Locker. And, all the Captain America. I was up for that. Chris Evans got it. So I finally was like, hey, I'm a real Marine here, people. This was the first time that I got to get a role where they're like, oh, by the way, you're like a Marine, you're X, Y, and Z. I'm like, yes, I am. Yeah, it's okay. And then I had to make Cole different than who I really am. And that was interesting because, one of the things I really respect and admire both about Jensen and Jared is they've been on a television show for 10 years, now 11. And how good you get, the fighting. The knowing your marks, Jensen now directs and directing. We were talking about this in the green room, Richard's gonna direct. And when you become a director and you've been on a show for 10 years, you're a professional, And so when I jump onto a set that has been working and functioning for 10 years, it's like a well-oiled machine. It's like, whew, you're like, okay, holy Jesus, you guys know what you're doing. Because I'm used to independent movies where everybody doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Like, who's that? I don't know what's going on. Move the lights. That doesn't look right. But this one's like, boom, boom, boom. You ready to go? I'm like, yes, I'm ready to go. No, I'm not ready to go. And oh my God, the cameras are rolling, and that's Jensen Ackles, and he's big, and he's bigger than me. But I loved working with Jensen because I've known him for so long, and we've had the same group of friends. We've like I said, grown up in the industry together. He did Dark Angel, and then he got this show, and he took off. Right? And so to get there and be with him, and I met him 2 years earlier on an airplane in Vancouver. I was doing a show called Alcatraz, and I was 35 pounds heavier than I am now. I put on a bunch of weight and receded my hair, and I had this crazy accent that I did for Chicago. And so I'm looking horrific. I didn't look well, I didn't feel well, but I was playing a character. And I'm doing the Alcatraz show because I thought it was going to go on for 10 years. It did not. Yeah. Don't gain 40 pounds for a TV role. That's all I say for you actors. Hard to lose, very difficult to lose. But we sat on a plane, and I sat down next to him, and we're both sitting there, and I'm like, he's like, how you doing? Hey man, how are you? I was eating a big sandwich, and I'm like, how's the show? And he's like, good. I'm like, Travis, oh dude, how have you been? I didn't realize you got big. It's for a TV show, shut up. It was amazing to be there on a plane with him, and we were both in Vancouver. I'm shooting Alcatraz, he's shooting Supernatural. He's telling me all about the show and meeting his wife and being married. And we just were talking as not actors, but just two guys that have grown up in the business together. And I was so wow, dude, you've really done well with your success. You've got married, you've stayed out of trouble. A lot of people in Hollywood screw up, get involved with a lot of bad stuff, and their careers tank. And he did it right. And so to be kind of admirable of that and inspired by him, and then 2 years later, to get on a show with him and the big, look at me, I look a lot thinner, don't I? I was like, let's go. Well, there's that kid from Alcatraz. And beat him up. But yeah, to work with him was it's surreal. The industry is very hard, and it's very hard to book a job, but to get on a job and to be on a show with him and then act with him and have him beat the hell out of him was awesome. And I loved our art. I loved what Jenny Klein and Bob Singer and the writers of the show, I loved what they did, because Cole came in and it was like, who the hell is this guy? And he reminded me of a culmination of all these military guys I knew and I didn't really like, and they're arrogant, and they think they're better. Marines have a very, very bad habit, I think, of thinking they're better than everyone else. And they do, they just do. They're like, I'm a Marine, oh, you're Army, okay, whatever. And I'm like, I got it, and I'm like, no, we all are part of this team to defend our nation. I have a huge respect for all levels, but I just played Cole as this is really cocky, arrogant, unlikable guy that has a vendetta. And then he kind of comes full circle and is humbled. And I love that last scene, like the last scene where we were together, it was like, wow, guys, like, you spent your entire life doing what military guys do, but you're not looking for awards, you're not looking for medals, you're not looking to be honored. It's pretty cool, because all of us, military guys do great, but then we get uniforms, we stand up and we get saluted, we get recognized, you guys clap for us. These two characters don't get any acknowledgement. And those are heroes to me, like people who don't need to be acknowledged for heroism. And I struggle with that, because when I do something good, I'm always like, look, I did good. And sometimes, the two characters of the Winchester boys are just humble guys. And Jared and Jensen are humble guys. And I'm learning a lot about that. So that arc with him as an actor, but that arc with him as a human being was more rewarding. So.
Thank you.
Hi.
I met you last night too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, by the bar.
Say again?
You're in the military.
Yeah, I found my ID.
You find your ID?
It was in my purse.
That girl. United States military, ladies and gentlemen.
That's actually what I was wanting to ask you about. I was just curious about your service record, what you did for those 4 years.
I was fortunate to serve from 1994, before most of you were born. Some of you were like, hell no. No idea. 94 to 97, 3.5 years. And I was coming in when they were coming back from Iraq, and I was getting out as we were about to go back to Afghanistan. The movie Jarhead, if you guys are familiar with that, with Jake Gyllenhaal. I wrote some of that film, and that was based on my unit, and it was me, Jake, and Jamie in that film for about 6 months. And a week before filming, Peter Sarsgaard replaced me. And a year later, I go out, I got Entertainment Weekly, and it was thrown on my driveway. This is when you used to get newspapers and magazines delivered. It wasn't digital. And they throw this Entertainment Weekly on my driveway, and I'm in my robe and underwear, and I go out, pick it up, and on the cover of Entertainment Weekly is Jake, Jamie, and Peter. You're not a Marine, Peter. But yeah, so I served in a time of peace. But we were also, it was kind of on high edge, we weren't really feeling peaceful at that time. There was a lot of stuff going on in the world, obviously, because what happened next when I got out was tragic. And so I was able to serve 0311 Grunt, Infantry, M249 SAW, M203, which just basically means I carried a lot of crap. Just like this was me. And even my sister and me yesterday, we were walking around DC, and I'm like, oh, your feet. She's like, aren't you a Marine? I'm like, I was. I am, but I wasn't. I'm not. This hurts. I'm like, we need a foot massage place. Like someone like.
Well, you know what Marine stands for.
My sister said that. She's like, well, I have one of your fans massage your feet. I'm like, I can't do that. That's horrible. Horrible.
Well, you know what Marine stands for.
Yes.
My ass rides in Navy equipment.
Yes. Very true. Semper Fi. But yeah, that's what I did, and I was lucky. I was lucky to never see war, but I did see combat. I did lose friends in combat training, which is not known. That's in the movie Jarhead. You kind of see what happens, and everyone's like, "What? People died in training?" I'm like, "We're playing with live bullets. Like, we have grenades." Goes wrong, and that was what was scary for me at 18. That was really scary. Like you play guns when you're little, but then all of a sudden they give you a real gun, and it's loaded, and they put grenades on you. They're like, all right, we're gonna run, and you see grenades are bouncing on your chest. Like, oh shit! Oh my god, this is real! The guns and bullets are firing. The guy next to you's got his finger on the trigger. You're like, we are in Camp Pendleton, California. Take your finger off the. No one's around. He's like, pshaw. So sadly, I lost a few friends in training, and myself. I got caught in barbed wire during combat training, and I got stuck and popped up, and my knee went one way and blew out. And so, in '97, I had to have 2 reconstructive surgeries, and so, you know, because it was combat training, they said, you know, we'll give you an honorable discharge, not medical. So I was honorably discharged in '97, and I've auditioned for every military role since. And I got one. Hello.
First, I want to say thank you for your service to this great country.
Very well.
And you wrote a piece online about how torture victims kind of bond with the captors after you filmed the scene with Sam. And so I was curious that in the later episodes, if you thought that Sam's reaction to Cole was at all realistic as a former torture victim.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting because, you know, I know Jared really well. He's such a sympathetic, empathetic, wonderful human being, but I'm learning who Sam is, right? And what I did to him, kidnap him, torture him, tie him up, beat him, threaten him, I mean, all the things I did, you know, punch him. I mean, I knocked the guy out like 3 times. And that was not easy to film, because they're like, all right, so you're gonna punch him, you want right across the jaw, and he's gonna get knocked out. I'm like, he's 6'9". Like, I can't reach. And so they brought in an apple box for my 5'7" ass. And I'm like, all right, action. And then the other thing that was funny is during the filming when I'm walking around him and he's in the chair tied up, you know, because I like getting tied up in chairs or something. Like 50 Shades of Cole. Like, it's all real. Come on, Sam, leave. And if I don't tie you up, maybe you can tie me. If I have another tied up episode in the chair, I'm like, no, come on, guys. This is really cool. But as I tie him up in the chair and he's sitting there, and it was the first day of filming, first time I met Jared, because I'd never met Jared before. Other than I sat next to him at the premiere of Friday the 13th in Hollywood, which was weird. So both of the stars of the show, I sat next to at one point. Like, don't worry, I'll meet you guys in like 5 years. But you know, as he's sitting in the chair and I'm walking around him, I'm like, he's sitting and we're the same height. That was my thought process when I'm filming that. So when you go back and watch it, you see me do this. I'm literally like, this guy is the same height. And I'm like, they're like, okay, so you know, when you grab his throat, and I'm like, you mean like this? I was like, well, I want you bending down when you grab his throat. And I'm like, another apple box, please. But yeah, I wonder, you know, I don't know why Sam is. I think he's just really maybe got a huge, deep place in his heart for people who served in the military, and it was like, you know, I gotta be careful what I say here. But I really do. I think he's very empathetic to me, and I think he realizes that his family was killed by these monsters and demons, and that my family, it's a lot of comparisons to my character to what happened to them, and so that's been a plus, and it's also been people like, it's kind of a carbon copy of them. But you know, I think that's where people who like my character understand. It's like this kid just basically went through the same thing that these 2 boys went through. He has no family. He's lost his family, and so I think Sam has a big place in his heart for him. So I don't think he might punch Cole in the future, just randomly, like, hey, what's up, let's go some. Like that was for the chair, and then the strip bar, and all the other things you did. But yeah, I just think he is an empathetic character, and I think Jared is an empathetic man. And I think the 2 of them very much are a lot alike. So yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hello. I was just wondering, do you have a favorite moment or favorite memory from on set?
Let's see. I think, there's so many moments when you get to a movie set, and there's just so many moments in 4 episodes. Like, I've done like CSI, and I've done Criminal Minds, and I've done one-offs, like 1 episode, been gone, and you kind of like, oh, my favorite moment of that episode is easy to find, but to find it in 4 episodes, unless otherwise, like The Boys, we have 10 seasons, like to pick one is hard. But I I think for me it was, what's that? The butt grab. Obviously. Missed that. Yeah, of course. But I just think working with the guys and being on a show that's so adored and loved and been on for 10 years and being there with them, and I think the 4th episode where I'm like, I'm not just kind of like a guest star in this episode, I'm with them. And we're solving this thing together. And I felt, you know, like part of their world, not just an actor that came in and hey, I had a couple scenes and I'm out. Like, oh, I'm in the backseat of the Impala of a show.